Hello everyone and welcome to my Y&R Insider 24 update channel. Billy goes nuclear, Victoria spies, and Sally cries. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers for Monday, October 6th reveal that Victoria Newman wants more intel, while Sally Spectra braces for Billy Abbott's meltdown. Sally summoned his mom, Jill Abbott, back to GC to save her son. Jill came trotting only to have her ingrate spawn lash out and accuse her of seeing him as weak and ineffectual. He finds it particularly insulting that she simultaneously allows Kane Ashby to wreak havoc on everyone. Jill rages at Billy Boy. Sally feels guilty about her own behind-the-scenes move as she watches Billy stew about Jill. What he doesn't know is that she borrowed his computer and called Jill, who responded thinking that it was Billy. Sally asked Jill to invest in Abbott Communications and Billy won't appreciate her going behind his back. How will he react if Jill funds the company with plenty of strings and expectations? Y&R spoilers tease that Billy goes nuclear when he finds out the truth. Will this be the last straw that finally opens Sally's eyes? Billy and Jill fight. Victoria converses with Victor Newman, her father, regarding his strategy for Citizen Kane in the interim. Victoria asks for specifics when Victor admits to having a plan. We predict that the mustache demurs and doesn't want to give too much away. Victoria will have to be satisfied with the little bit that she does know. Victor flips the script and inquires about Claire Newman's romantic life simultaneously. Will Victoria congratulate Victor on playing a big hand in busting up Claire and Kyle Abbott's relationship? Victor could act regretful, but we suspect that Victoria understands full well that he is pleased by the news. Holden and Claire leave for Los Angeles. However, he might object to Claire and enigmatic Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, taking off for a splurge in LA. Will Victoria follow the happy-go-lucky friends when she finds herself in Los Angeles at the same time as her daughter? Warning: The Young and the Restless spoilers suggest that Victoria will make a bold move to protect Claire soon, so take what you want from that. Sally trembles. Billy goes nuclear, Victoria spies. The Young and the Restless, Y&R, spoilers for Monday, October 6th, 2025. Emotional explosions, unspoken motives, and a wave of betrayal are promised in the upcoming episode of The Young and the Restless, which has the potential to reshape several relationships in Genoa City. At the center of this fiery web are Sally Spectra, Billy Abbott, and Victoria Newman, each driven by their own blend of fear, ambition, and deep-rooted insecurities. Victoria begins to sniff around her father's machinations, and the fallout could reveal long-buried truths and unexpected alliances while Sally prepares for Billy's rage. This week's Y&R will focus on three intertwined stories: Billy's descent into rage and paranoia, Sally's guilt and desperate maneuvering, and Victoria's stealthy but determined investigation into Victor's hidden agenda. Genoa City thrives on a triangle of deception, pride, and family politics in which all three arcs mirror one another. Love, lies, and loss of control by Sally Spectra. In Genoa City, Courtney hopes Sally Spectra has made her fair share of risky decisions, but her most recent one may be the most explosive to date. Her head knew she was going too far, but her heart told her she was helping Billy. Billy Abbott, Jason Thompson, has always been impulsive, self-assured, and unpredictable, making him his own worst enemy. Sally, trying to protect the man she loves, made a desperate move behind his back by calling in the one person who could both help and hurt him, his mother, Jill Abbott. When Sally borrowed Billy's laptop to send a few emails, she saw the financial numbers at Abbott Communications crumbling. She saw the pattern: a man losing control, drowning in his own stubbornness. Her instincts told her to act, and so she did. However, in the Abbott household, nothing goes unnoticed for long. When she got the impression that her son was reaching out, Jill, always the matriarch, did not hesitate. She returned to Genoa City, ready to wield her authority and money to save Billy whether he liked it or not. She had no idea she would be confronted with a torrent of accusations right away. Billy's fury, the son who refuses to be saved. Billy's resentment was already bubbling when Jill showed up. 4 years, he's lived in the shadow of expectations, his father's legacy, Jack's success, Victoria's judgment, and his own self-inflicted failures. The moment Jill stepped into the office, the old wounds tore open again. He yelled, "You never believed in me, Mom," his voice shaking with hurt and cold eyes. "You swoop in to fix what you think I've broken, But you never see what I've built. Jill's jaw tightened. She was in love with her son, but she also knew his pattern of reckless highs and devastating lows. What she didn't know was that her son's girlfriend had set this whole meeting in motion. As Billy's anger ignited, Sally stood nearby, her stomach twisting. Watching him lash out at his mother, knowing that she was the reason Jill was even in town, was unbearable. Her trembling hands gave her away. Jill was aware. "Something you want to say, Sally?" With narrowed eyes, Jill asked. Jill Abbott didn't get to where she is by ignoring the scent of guilt, so Sally tried to deflect. The tension was palpable. Billy, sensing a shift, turned toward Sally, and the truth began to emerge as soon as his eyes met hers. The revelation: when faith gives way to fury, the fragile trust that underpins Billy's world takes years to rebuild after it is broken. When he discovered that Sally had borrowed his laptop, it sparked irritation. When he learned that she'd called Jill pretending to be him, it detonated into full-blown rage. He yelled, "You went behind my back," and Abbott Communications heard him. "You played me, Sally. You think I can't run my own company without Mommy swooping in?" Sally tried to explain. "Billy, I did it for us. For the business. I just wanted to help." But Billy wasn't hearing her. His pride was louder than her reasoning. His need for control was stronger than her love. He hissed, "I don't need your help. And I don't need another woman deciding what's best for me." Those words hit Sally like a physical blow. The man she'd fought so hard to understand, to steady, was now pushing her away with the same self-destructive fury that had ended so many of his past relationships. Sally's choice: self-respect or love. In the aftermath of Billy's explosion, Sally finds herself at a crossroads. She has been through heartbreak before, from her tangled romance with Adam Newman, Mark Grossman, to the bitter end of her dream at Newman Media. But this time, it's different. This time, she truly thought she'd found something lasting. She wonders about everything as a result of Billy's rage. Did she misjudge his strength? Did she become exactly what he despised, another person trying to control him? Her guilt battles with resentment. Yes, she overstepped. But she also saw a man on the edge, blinded by pride, refusing help. She wanted to save him, but perhaps what he needed was to fall and find his own way back. That's the cruel paradox of love in Genoa City. Even the purest intentions can cause the deepest wounds. Not only is Sally frightened of Billy's rage, but she is also beginning to realize that she might lose him to his own demons rather than to another woman. Jill Abbott's return: tough love and unfinished business. Jill Abbott's presence in Genoa City always brings fireworks. The grande dame of Chancellor Winters knows the cost of ambition and the price of pride. She's lived both. But seeing her son unravel again tears at her heart. Her argument with Billy becomes one of those classic Y&R confrontations that fans live for: sharp words, old pain, and flashes of raw love underneath the anger. "You think I don't see how hard you've worked?" he hears from Jill. "You think I don't know how much you've changed? But you're still your father's son, Billy. Every helping hand is treated as if it were an enemy by you." Billy glares. "Because every time I take a hand, it ends up choking me." That exchange sums up decades of mother-son conflict, love tainted by misunderstanding, pride clashing with concern. But this time, Jill isn't backing down. She tells him flat out that she's not leaving Genoa City until she knows his stable. It remains to be seen whether this entails providing Abbott Communications with additional funds or completely taking him out of the driving seat. Sally keeps her mouth shut as she watches, her guilt growing with each word. The fallout from her phone call is far from over, it's only just beginning. Victoria spies the mustache shadow. While Billy and Sally's drama ignites one corner of Genoa City, another storm brews in the Newman empire. Victoria Newman, Amelia Heinley, sharp as ever, begins to sense that her father, Victor Newman, Eric Braden, is hiding something again. When she confronts him about his renewed interest in Citizen Kane, Victor plays coy. He acknowledges having a plan, but he refuses to disclose the specifics. Victoria says with a cool tone, "You always have a plan, Dad. But your plans usually come with collateral damage." Victor's eyes narrow, a subtle warning. "You worry too much, Victoria. Focus on your company, not mine." But Victoria's instincts scream otherwise. Her father's manipulation of the business landscape is legendary, and she knows his fingerprints are all over the recent power shifts. She can't ignore the irony at the same time. She spent years fighting her father's control, but now she mirrors it in her own life. The apple, as they say, doesn't fall far from the Newman tree. Victor Newman, the puppet master. Victor's calm confidence masks a web of scheming beneath. His conversations with Victoria seem casual, but every word is loaded with implication. He brings up Claire Newman, Hayley Erin, his granddaughter, under the guise of concern. So, Victor begins, how is Claire handling things after that situation with Kyle Abbott? Victoria's face gets more serious. She knows her father's tone, probing, testing. Don't pretend you weren't involved, she says. You are always. Victor's slight smile confirms her suspicion. He might feign regret, but is secretly pleased. The breakup of Claire and Kyle's relationship cuts off a potential connection between two powerful families, which Victor might not have liked. Still, Victor doesn't like being out of the loop, and when he learns that Claire is heading to Los Angeles with Holden Novak, Nathan Owens, his protective instincts flare. Claire and Holden love, escape, and new temptations. Claire Newman's storyline takes an intriguing turn as she decides to take a spontaneous trip to LA with Holden Novak, the mysterious new man who's been slowly winning her trust. After months of turmoil and heartbreak, Claire sees the trip as a fresh start, a chance to escape Genoa City's constant chaos. Holden, however, is not as transparent as he appears. Rumors swirl that he may have a hidden agenda, possibly linked to Victor's business rivals or even to Tucker McCall's schemes. The trip makes Victoria feel uneasy. She's torn between respecting her adult daughter's independence and the gnawing fear that history might repeat itself. As a mother, she can't shake the need to protect Claire from the powerful forces and men that always seem to circle the Newman women. Victoria's investigation, a mother and a CEO. Victoria decides to quietly look into Holden's background. She enlists Nate Hastings, Sean Dominic, now back in her good graces, to discreetly dig for information. Victoria's suspicions grow when Nate informs her that Holden's financial records are sealed and that his past appears to be manufactured. She plans a last-minute business trip when she learns that Holden and Claire are both in Los Angeles. Officially, she's there for Newman Enterprises. Unofficially, she's there to spy on her daughter. This arc becomes a turning point for Victoria. Her need to control every aspect of her life, her business, her family, her father, mirrors the very behavior she resents in Victor. Yet she can't stop herself. Will Victoria's investigation expose a dangerous truth, or will it push Claire further away? Genoa City crossfire, interconnected chaos. Back in Genoa City, the ripple effects of these storylines begin to intertwine. Jill's return stirs old rivalries within the Chancellor Winters structure, Victor's secretive maneuvering impacts corporate alliances, and Sally finds herself caught between two worlds, the Abbott's chaos and her own uncertain career path. Meanwhile, Billy, now furious and humiliated, starts questioning his leadership at Abbott Communications. He drowns himself in work, pushing everyone away, including Sally. However, in private, he is haunted. He keeps picturing Sally shaking as she confessed and her voice breaking. He loves her, but he can't forgive her betrayal, not yet. Phyllis hits rock bottom, jobless and furious over Danny's remarriage. The Young and the Restless spoilers document that Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, had a plan. Her latest comeback plan involved either working with Kane Ashby providing intel about him to key players in Genoa City, Wisconsin. Most likely, those efforts have failed. Phyllis believed that she could work with Kane, who claimed he needed her on his team. Billy Abbott was part of that three-person contingent and is out as well. Danny Romalotti, Michael Damian, tasked his adopted son, Daniel Romalotti, Michael Graziardi, with handling Phyllis apart from business. Danny and Christine Blair, Laura Lee Bell, are set to remarry. Danny Romalotti was Phyllis Summers' first love. Some would argue that Danny wasn't Phyllis' first love. A segment of Genoa City, Wisconsin's, population, surely including cricket, would strongly assert that Phyllis never loved Danny. In the middle of the 1990s, a massive plot captivated devoted viewers. Stafford was hired to be a groupie who was obsessed. However, this outstanding actor performed so well that Phyllis became a regular on the show. Danny was eventually persuaded by Phyllis that she was pregnant with his child. Daniel was another man's child, with that plot point serving to destroy Danny's only marriage to Christine, whom Phyllis derisively termed the bug. So, fans should expect Phyllis not to go quietly into the night as Danny and Christine's wedding date approaches or when it arrives. Left to her own devices, Phyllis is inclined to create trouble, but she's likely incapable of derailing this long-awaited remarriage. Maybe Kane Ashby will be a connection. Kane hasn't initiated his artificial intelligence plan. He has stated that it can ruin any company in the world and leave no trace of evidence. But Jill Abbott's, Jess Walton, return to GC may serve to alter Kane's intended course or prevent him from wreaking havoc. Phyllis might still be in the running, assuming that is the case. The head of Arabesque would benefit by having Phyllis back on his team and working toward honest goals rather than unjustly seizing various legacy companies. She shouldn't be afraid to hope for this outcome either, because doing so won't make her feel isolated from her friends and family. Amanda Sinclair's advice should be followed. Amanda Sinclair is Phyllis' only friend. Since learning that Amanda is Kane's lead attorney, their reconnect ion has been chilly. However, deep down, Phyllis knows that Amanda's advice should be followed. Kane's trust in Amanda didn't extend to Phyllis, but it did give her a preview of what being in the inner circle was like. Phyllis might have the best chance of regaining her career momentum if she worked for Kane once more. She must remain close to Amanda, who can persuade Phyllis to approach Kane. Phyllis' computer skill set can be useful to Kane if Jill can persuade him to pursue normal business plans. Phyllis reaches rock bottom, is jobless, and is enraged by Danny's new marriage. The Young and the Restless spoilers for the coming weeks reveal that Phyllis Summers, Michelle Stafford, is spiraling into one of the darkest chapters of her long and turbulent life. Jobless, friendless, and emotionally wrecked by the impending remarriage of her longtime obsession Danny Romalotti, Michael Damian, to Christine Blair, Laura Lee Bell, Phyllis finds herself backed into a corner with nowhere to turn. A woman whose identity has been built on reinventing herself, manipulating people, and staying alive might find that hitting rock bottom is the turning point that leads to either redemption or a new reign of chaos in Genoa City. Phyllis Summers, a woman who always fights back. For decades, Phyllis Summers has thrived in chaos. She is a true survivor, capable of recovering from personal humiliation, corporate ruin, and public disgrace. Yet even the most resilient souls have breaking points, and for Phyllis, those points often appear when she feels abandoned or betrayed. The woman who once proudly declared herself unstoppable is now teetering on the edge of emotional collapse, stripped of the allies, ambition, and illusion that once gave her life structure. Her most recent attempt at a professional comeback involved forming a partnership with Kane Ashby, Billy Flynn, in a business venture that she believed had the potential to change the game. Phyllis believed that Kane's artificial intelligence project would put her back on the map and provide her with a chance to stand out from those who had previously dismissed her. But the alliance was shaky from the start. Phyllis's instincts told her that Kane was hiding something, but she was too desperate to be careful. She needed to believe that somebody still valued her. Unfortunately, as events unfolded, that fragile partnership began to crumble. Rash, ambition, and possibly a dangerous arrogance tainted Kane's motives. And once Jill Abbott, Jess Walton, returned to town, his plans and Phyllis's last hope of success were thrown into disarray. The Kane-Ashby gamble, Phyllis's final power play. When Phyllis first aligned herself with Kane, she envisioned a partnership built on cunning and innovation. She had the experience, the contacts, and the sheer determination to bring his AI concepts to market. In her mind, this was a chance to prove that she could rise again, not as someone's assistant or ex-wife, but as a visionary entrepreneur. However, Kane's true plan was far more sinister than Phyllis anticipated. His mysterious AI technology was not made to build things, rather, it was made to destroy things. It could take down businesses from the inside out without leaving a trace. It was not a business tool but rather a digital weapon. Phyllis's gut told her to walk away, but her ego whispered otherwise. She convinced herself she could outsmart him, control him, even redirect his project toward legitimate business. But as Jill's presence loomed, everything changed. Kane's anger began to subside as a result of Jill's maternal influence, leading him to seek stability rather than vengeance. For Phyllis, that meant exclusion. Once again, she found herself the expendable piece on someone else's chessboard. Phyllis's paranoia grew when Kane started keeping her out of meetings and not listening to her advice. She suspected that Amanda Sinclair, Michelle Morgan, Kane's attorney and her former friend, was also losing faith in her. For someone as prideful as Phyllis, that sense of being dismissed cut deep. By the time Jill made her official move to reclaim control of the situation, Phyllis's fate was sealed. The woman who had literally and metaphorically clawed her way back from the brink of death was now unemployed, unappreciated, and unwelcome. Danny Romolotti's return, old flames, old wounds. Phyllis' personal life fell apart even faster than her professional one. The return of Danny Romolotti, her longtime obsession and the father figure of her adult son Daniel, Michael Graziardi, reopened emotional scars that never truly healed. Danny's reemergence was initially thrilling for Phyllis. In her mind, this was a second chance not just to reconnect with him, but to rewrite their shared history. She dreamed of convincing Danny that they still had unfinished business, that their connection, however complicated, was still real. But Danny's purpose in returning to Genoa City wasn't romantic, it was redemptive. He came home to rekindle his relationship with Christine Blair, the woman Phyllis had stolen from him all those years ago. The cruel and poetic irony was that the very couple she had destroyed was now reunited and getting ready to get married again. This was more than just a rejection for Phyllis, it was erasure. Watching Danny and Christine find happiness again forced Phyllis to confront a truth she has long denied, that her manipulation, her lies, and her relentless need to control had cost her everything she once held dear. Revisiting the controversy of the 1990s, the legacy of lies to understand Phyllis's rage, one must revisit the roots of her obsession. When she first arrived in Genoa City in the mid-1990s, she was a fanatical groupie infatuated with rock star Danny Romolotti. Stafford's portrayal of Phyllis transformed what was supposed to be a short-term villain role into one of the most complex anti-heroines in soap history. Phyllis seduced Danny, faked a pregnancy, and later convinced him that her son Daniel was his biological child. That lie destroyed Danny's marriage to Christine, leading to years of heartbreak and bitterness. Phyllis's audacity and her refusal to feel remorse cemented her as a soap icon. Yet her success came with a curse. She was forever trapped in that identity. Even when time softened some of her edges, Genoa City never truly forgave her. Danny's quiet disdain was a constant reminder that no matter how many times she reinvented herself, she would always be the woman who lied about her child. Phyllis senses that history is making fun of her right now, as Danny and Christine get married. While she is once again the outsider, alone, resentful, and watching from the shadows, the woman he once referred to as the bug is triumphantly standing in front of her. Jobless, lonely, and cornered. Phyllis's days have become a never-ending cycle of resentment and regret because she doesn't have a job or a purpose. Her children, Daniel and Summer, have distanced themselves to protect their own peace. Even her intermittent friendships with Lauren Fenmore and Michael Baldwin have cooled. Genoa City's elite no longer fear Phyllis, they pity her. And for someone as proud as she is, pity is unbearable. Everywhere she turns, Phyllis sees people thriving while she's stuck in quicksand. Chelsea Lawson and Adam Newman are starting over. Nick Newman is focusing on his children. Even her old rival Sharon Rosales seems at peace. Phyllis, by contrast, is trapped in a self-inflicted purgatory of what ifs and should-haves. Her bitterness has begun to manifest in destructive ways. She lashes out at anyone who suggests she move on. She scoffs at happiness in others, viewing it as a personal affront. The more she pushes people away, the lonelier she becomes, and the loneliness only fuels her rage. The Last Reason, by Amanda Sinclair. Amid the chaos, one person still sees potential in Phyllis, Amanda Sinclair. Despite their strained reunion, Amanda recognizes that beneath Phyllis's volatility lies a brilliant, wounded woman desperate for validation. Amanda's reentry into Genoa City as Kane's lead attorney was supposed to be a professional matter. But as soon as she crossed paths with Phyllis again, old loyalties stirred. Theirs was an unlikely friendship forged in shared ambition and mutual understanding of betrayal. Amanda knows what it's like to be misunderstood and to fight for second chances. She offers Phyllis advice rooted in empathy, not judgment. You can't rebuild your life by destroying someone else's, Phyllis. You must desire something real. Phyllis hears the words but struggles to internalize them. Years of self-preservation have made it difficult for her to trust sincerity. Still, part of her knows Amanda is right. She needs to step away from schemes and focus on rebuilding genuine connections if she's still capable of that. The Jill factor, a possible lifeline if anyone in Genoa City understands the delicate balance between reinvention and ruin, it's Jill Abbott. Her arrival back in town could prove pivotal not only for Kane but also for Phyllis. Jill has always seen potential in Phyllis when properly channeled. She respects intelligence and grit, even when it comes wrapped in chaos. Phyllis might be able to fit into that structure if Jill can turn Kane's reckless ambitions into legitimate business ventures. The irony is that Phyllis's salvation may depend on the very people she once dismissed as enemies or competitors. Jill's pragmatic mentorship could help her rediscover her purpose, but only if she's willing to let someone else lead for once. Fury over Danny's remarriage. Phyllis's internal emotional storm continues to grow in intensity. News of Danny and Christine's wedding hits her like a thunderbolt. Though she tries to pretend indifference, her fury is palpable. To Phyllis, their remarriage feels like a public humiliation, a symbolic rewriting of history where she's cast as the eternal villain. She cannot stand the thought of Danny publicly proclaiming his love for Christine while ignoring the years of emotional chaos they all endured because of her. In private moments, Phyllis oscillates between self-pity and anger. She imagines scenarios where she interrupts the ceremony, exposes secrets, or manipulates circumstances to sow doubt. But deep down, she knows those tactics would only confirm everyone's worst suspicions that Phyllis Summers is incapable of change. Still, temptation whispers. The question haunting her is not should I, but can I stop myself? Daniel Romalotti Jr., the son torn between two worlds. Daniel is stuck in a position that can't be done. As Danny's son and Phyllis's child, he is the emotional bridge between two warring pasts. Danny has tasked him with handling his mother, but that request comes with heavy emotional baggage. Daniel loves his mother but fears her instability. He's seen how her impulsive decisions can destroy lives, including her own. He wants to protect her, but he also wants to protect his father's happiness. He is forced to choose between supporting Danny and putting Phyllis at risk, or standing up for his mother and risking losing his father's faith due to the upcoming wedding. The same dynamic that has haunted Daniel his entire life, a mother who loves too fiercely and a father who loves too cautiously, is reflected in this emotional tug-of-war. His attempt to stay neutral will likely fail, forcing him to choose sides when Phyllis inevitably acts out. The breaking point. Every soap heroine has a defining moment of collapse, and for Phyllis, that moment is fast approaching. Stripped of power, respect, and love, she stands at a crossroads. Will she embrace introspection and rebuild, or will she succumb to old patterns of revenge? Signs suggest the latter. Her late-night visits to the Grand Phoenix bar have become increasingly volatile. There are a lot of rumors that she has been seen confronting Christine in public with her venomous tone and wild eyes. She accuses Christine of stealing Danny again, insisting that their love story isn't real, just nostalgia wrapped in moral superiority. Danny, ever the gentleman, refuses to engage, but his patience is wearing thin. For the first time, he publicly asks Phyllis to respect his choices, effectively cutting off her last emotional tether. She is devastated by the shame. In that moment, Phyllis realizes that she has become exactly what everyone accuses her of being, the problem. The possibility of getting over it, yet even in despair, there's hope. Phyllis has fallen before and risen stronger. What separates her from true villains is that she's self-aware enough to feel guilt eventually. Her pain may drive her to lash out, but it also fuels her capacity for change. Amanda might be the key to unlocking that transformation. By reminding Phyllis of her intelligence, her worth, and her capacity for reinvention, Amanda could steer her back toward purpose. Perhaps Phyllis could channel her energy into legitimate tech work, even collaborating with Jill's team in a new, transparent venture. Not only would such a storyline honor her legacy as one of Genoa City's most complex women, a flawed genius constantly battling her own demons, but it would also rehabilitate her image, foreshadowing future trouble. Of course, this is Genoa City, where redemption is never permanent. Phyllis's rage and ego never let up, no matter how hard she tries to move on. Kane's unstable character and desperate nature may rekindle a dangerous partnership. She could also endanger the wedding, whether she does so intentionally or not. A single outburst, a slip of information, or a public confrontation could spiral into scandal. If that happens, Phyllis could find herself truly alone, exiled even by those who once defended her. The woman behind the mask. Ultimately, what makes Phyllis so compelling is her duality. She's brilliant yet reckless, empathetic yet ruthless, confident yet insecure. She wants love, but she can't accept it without being in control. The tragedy of Phyllis Summers is that she often becomes the architect of her own downfall. Her pain is real, her intentions sometimes pure, but her methods are poison. Audiences are kept engaged year after year by watching her teeter on the brink of ruin. As she stares into the mirror of her empty penthouse, the reflection that stares back is haunting. She's not the glamorous power player she once was. She is a naked woman who is angry, jobless, and heartbroken. However, perhaps there is still a spark of resilience waiting to be lit deep beneath the rubble. Conclusion: the next chapter of Phyllis Summers. Spoilers for the young and the restless hint that Phyllis's story is far from over. While Danny and Christine prepare to walk down the aisle, Phyllis is preparing to confront her future, whatever that may look like. Her legacy will be determined going forward by her decision to choose pandemonium or peace. Will she crash the wedding and expose her worst impulses? Or will she finally show everyone that she can change by walking away, shocking everyone? One thing's certain, in Genoa City, rock bottom is never the end, it's just another beginning.